Good day, guys. Welcome to another game review. This time we have our world champion Magnus Carlsen up against Levon Aronian. A very interesting game where Magnus crushes Levon in 22 moves. But before we get started, please hit the subscribe button and we will be sure to bring you more great content. This matchup was held in the round 2 of the Lindores Abbey Rapid Challenge, which is a 15 plus 10 second tournament hosted by Chess24 as part of the Magnus Carlsen Chess Tour. So that being said, let's jump into the game. Immediately, Magnus playing with the white pieces. Magnus went e4, and Levon playing with the black pieces went e5. After knight f3, knight f6, we see the Petrov defense. Now just normal exchanges happening. Knight takes e5, d6, knight f3, and knight takes e4. This is pretty standard stuff with the knight c3 move. Knight takes c3, d takes c3, bishop e7, bishop e3, castles, queen d2, pretty standard Petrov theory. Knight d7, castles, c6, h4, which is a move that has been played before, but it is not supposed to give white any commanding advantage. After d5, bishop d3 gets played. Now after rook e8, rook de1 gets played, just simply occupying the open e file. Knight f6, and now I should note that this position has come up before. Let me quickly show you what was played in a game between Hikaru Nakamura and Vladimir Kramnik in 2010 in Moscow. Nakamura went bishop d4 and Kramnik just responded with c5, bishop takes f6, bishop takes f6, queen f4, bishop e6, knight g5, g6, bishop e5, rook f8, knight takes e6, f takes e, rook takes e6, and bishop takes c3. This game ended in a comfortable draw for both players. Just to point out, just see this idea of knight g5 here. So Magnus combines this idea with the knight g5 heading down the h7 square with the bishop. There's no captures on g5 because of the rook. And just watch what Magnus does. So he doesn't play this bishop to d4 move that was played by Hikaru. Instead, Magnus chooses to play a novelty by playing the knight to g5. Now after knight g5, the same response was gathered by Levon. c5, c4, h6, just kicking the knight back. The interesting thing is, as I've mentioned before, because this rook becomes so strong along the open file, it is not advisable for black to take on g5, as h takes g5 will simply attack the knight, and the complications on the open file will be detrimental. So instead, Magnus decides to take on d5, leave the knight on g5, saying you can't take. And c4 was played. If you guys want to quickly see before I continue here, just to point out that if black chooses to take on g5 now, this would be the continuation. H takes g5, knight takes d5, bishop h7 check, king f8, and if the bishop comes back to e4, the bishop attacks the knight on d5 and the queen attacks the knight on d5, but at the same time, because of this rook's open file, there's a one move checkmate threat on h8, so black will inevitably lose a piece if they were to stop mate. So that is why instead of h takes g5, Levon decided to play c4. And after c4, bishop takes c4, h takes g5. Very bad if this rooks get the open h file. So Levon decided to just close his eyes and take on g5, but this ultimately led to a very quick end for black. After knight e4, you see the following: queen d1, just going to the right squares in order to have a square on h5. And after bishop takes g5, the queen simply goes to h5, saying, listen, I've got mate in one, what do you have? After bishop takes e3 check, rook takes e3, and now we see black is already lost with no way to defend the black king. After f5, d6 got played, bishop e6, and after queen h7, Levon called it a day and resigned. So just to show you why he resigned, I'm quickly going to just point out that this king's got two main squares to move to, either f7 or f8. I'm quickly going to go through both options. If the king does decide to go to f8, then we've got this move. Queen takes f5 check. Absolute brilliant move because threatens check to the king, but black can also not capture on f5 because this will lead to an immediate mate on h8. So the other option is after queen takes f5, black might choose to just put this queen on f6, for example, queen f6, and then white will simply take the knight on e4, saying I've picked up this piece, I got my piece back. And just to point out why king g8 needs to be played, because this rook is now threatening to go to f3, putting the queen on the f file. So king g8 gets played, and then there will be simply bishop takes e6, rook takes e6. After queen d5, you see this rook is pinned by the queen, and it's also being attacked by the e rook. This rook will simply go to e1 and snatch off the extra piece on e6, leaving black with an absolute lost position. Now, just to go back to queen h7, we've now discussed this king f8 move, so I'm just going to remove that. Now let's quickly look at king f7. King f7 leads into queen takes f5 check. Black can never capture here because of the light squared pin. And if queen f6 gets played, then again, the same problem exists. The queen just snaps off on e4. If the bishop ever takes on c4, the queen recaptures check. The king can't go down to f8 because of mate, which basically forces black to play rook to e6. And at this point, the king are still on the same file, so 3 will simply mean game over. And that being the reason why Levon decided to resign after queen h7. Such a convincing and certain victory by Magnus Carlsen. We love to see this outgoing attacking chess and hope to see some more in the upcoming games of the Lindores Abbey Rapid Challenge. Thanks for watching, guys. Please remember to hit the subscribe button. We'll be sure to bring you all the rest of the games from the Lindores Abbey, and hope to see you soon.